Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, well, well. This is your homegirl. Boss, 914, which is County, New York. We going live right now. We're not gonna be up here very long, but we going live. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. And I want to send a shout out to all of my subscribers, new and old subscribers, my support team, some of my uh YouTube creators. Yeah. I want to shout out to all my moderators. I know we're upon the Christmas season. I know we are. And shout out to all of you. Yeah. So this is your home guy, Arabia Bosa, aka the BT 1000, aka the Jeeper Creeper on this shit, aka Lucy the Vampire, aka the German Shepherd in the goddamn room. And I want to shout out to Just Jay for going live. She was live for 10 hours. She covered an array of subjects that your homegirl, Arabia Barbosa, wasn't, too swift on. Especially about some of this food production that is happening in some of these food plants and the food that is being served out of the restaurants is very atrocious these days. A shout out to the chat. Shout out to Just Jay for awakening awakening the information that she gave in her video. Oh my goodness. It was a wealth of information. There's a lot of information there, ladies and gentlemen. And we got to thank Just Jay for bringing it onto the stage. Onto the stage. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. We want to shout out to everyone that was in the chat. We want to shout out to everyone that was in her particular chat. And, she did a wonderful job. I truly enjoyed it. I was in and out of the chat, but, while I was there, I did learn something. Shout out to the chat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got four in the building. We got four in the building. Shout out to you. Thank you for coming in. Good evening. Good evening. I know this is not usual for me to go live around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, but I decided to just go live just for a few minutes because I felt like I wanted to go live. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. We want to shout out to the knowledge gatekeepers, the knowledge seekers of this sector. And you're breathing life into the sector. See, this whole sector is now open. The city of the YouTube streets is open. The wind is blowing through. New stuff is coming out, and I appreciate it. Now, that what Just Jay did today was called a reaction video. That was content. That was beautiful. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Yes, Lord. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And she had some OGs in her chat, which really made it very fantastic. See, when you're doing good, when you can get, OG YouTube creators into the chat and you can hold an audience. And that's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's all about. Shout out to the chat. But sometimes we hit on certain subjects that make people uncomfortable, and religion is a subject that is very uncomfortable. Religion and politics is a very tricky subject. So basically, I just give my point of view on my experience with dealing with the Christian church as I was growing up. And that is why I call myself Lucy the vampire, because that part of myself, it basically is buried deep in my childhood experience and as I became a teenager. And what happened, because I had a lot of questions. I became curious, but I was always told to be quiet, to don't ask questions, to don't look deeper or further into anything. And I was told the wrong fucking things. Shout out to the chat. Mm-mm. What's up? Just Jay Pumper Hard. I see you got yes. Now that's what you're supposed to have when you're in this chat. Thank you so much. Oh, your video was wonderful today. Yeah. I was in and out, but I said I gotta support. I gotta support. Show my support and love. I had to come in and listen. I appreciate that. And one of the most trickiest subjects is religion. And that's what I grew up with. We was attending a church and in the 914. I don't want to give the exact address out because I feel like doxing these motherfuckers. Yeah, when they should have been minding their business, they wasn't. See, like church people love to get into politics. They love to be in the dirt. They love to be in the mess. Nobody talks about this because when we start talking about it, people say, oh, no. You can't talk about that. Yeah, what's up, Rad? So shout out to everyone that's in my chat. I'm reading the chat, but my eyes are blurry. That's what happens when you get tired and sleepy. And we're just upon this Christmas holiday season, and I hate Christmas. I do. I don't like none of these holidays, so-called religious holidays, because I know these holidays are about nothing but propaganda, commercials, and making money, which I don't have right now. Shout out to the chat. Every year this happens to me. Every fucking year this happens to me, except for last year. Last year, Birdman was living, and he was like, "Oh, Arabia." I remember him coming to my house last year around this time, and I remember us driving to where he lived, and we went to the Food Lion store over there, and I remember us eating dinner. I remember him dropping me off, but before he dropped me off, he had handed me some money. Shout out to the chat, which was kind of unusual for him to do because he usually bought, stuff I wanted or stuff I liked. Like if I liked cigarettes or cigars, he would buy it. You know what I mean? If I liked a certain drink, he would buy it. You know what I mean? He didn't like to pass off money into my hand a whole lot. Shout out to the chat. If that makes sense to you guys. You know. I didn't have a problem giving to him. I think we shared amongst each other. We were not selfish in that regard. Because I remember him dropping me off at my house that particular evening, 11:30 that evening. And the reason why I remember what time it was, because I was looking to see what kind of stores were still open. And the only store that was open was right up the street from my house. But I didn't go to the store. I waited till the next morning. Then I went to the store. Shout out to the chat. That's right, Wrath. You gotta question everything. You gotta question everything. But when you are a child growing up, Wrath, in a certain situation, and you're asking questions, and you're making people angry, you're making people uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying me. I was making people angry. I was making people uncomfortable. Um, you know, it just isn't a good look sometimes. But now that I'm grown, and now that when I look back at my life and I say to myself, why didn't people want you to ask questions? What was so uncomfortable? Because I find it very hard to believe that there is a God in heaven that would allow so-called only begotten son to be murdered, to be crucified. For who? For who? Shout out to the chat, because if I'm a parent, ain't no way in the world I'm sacrificing my child. Ain't no way in the world my child gonna face death without me trying to intervene. Oh, hell no. No, 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 that don't happen in real life. So I have a very, distaste for religion that's been pushed down people's throats for years and years. You know what I mean? Because the Native Americans, they didn't practice no kind of Christianity. And from what I understand, some Africans did practice Christianity, but they did not practice the Christianity that is in place today. They didn't do it. The Christianity that's being practiced today is called lying and hypocrisy. That's what it's called. That crucifix that you see, the cross that you see, the Roman Catholic cross that you see, is the crucifix that represents the church, the synagogue of oppression, slavery, and death. That's what it represents. They conquered the whole entire world with their foolishness. North, south, east, west. If you look at it, it resembles what you would put on top of a barn to be a wind vane. Shout out to the chat. Minus the chicken. Minus the Zodiac Chinese chicken. Shout out to the chat. Oh yes, it's time to look at all the symbols, and it's time to go back over that Bible, and it's time to understand that the Ethiopian Bible has been banned. Why? Ask yourself the question. Why is the Ethiopian Bible banned? And why didn't Ethiopia ever had any trouble with the European nations of the earth trying to conquer her? The Europeans were able to conquer all of Africa at one time, except for Ethiopia. Ethiopia never fell until the world wars came. World War One, World War Two, where the Italians were trying to conquer Ethiopia. And the earth, the sands of Ethiopia, swallowed the tanks. Oh, yes. Shout out to the chat. We're going to go deeper, deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole. See, this is my reaction video towards religion, my attitude towards it. Some people don't agree with it. Some people say, Arabia, I don't agree with you. Oh no, Arabia, I don't agree. We can agree to disagree, but I'm always going to have my opinion because the church has showed who she was all through history. Explain the Christian Crusades. Explain that away. I want these pastors and these preachers and these deacons and these bishops to explain away the Crusades. Explain to me what happened during the Spanish Inquisition. Explain to me what happened during World War I and World War II. Explain to me why the Catholic Church was sitting up front when the Native American children were taken from their homes and put in residential boarding schools. A lot of those children didn't make it. They were killed. They were beaten. They were persecuted for wearing their own clothing, for speaking their own language, for practicing their own religious beliefs. The church was behind everything, and nobody talks about it. When you look at the Ku Klux Klan, which symbol do they carry? They carry the symbol of the cross, the crucifix. They light it up. North, south, east, west. They're telling you they were able to conquer the whole world by force. They were able to put everybody in a thing called mental death. It was a sleep. It was a coma. And some of us woke up from the coma. And when we woke up from this coma, we didn't recognize our own selves. We didn't recognize. Shout out to the chat. We wore different hats. We participated in different things. The only reason why I went to the LGBTQ community, ladies and gentlemen, is because when I was 9 years old, I was sexually abused. To dress like a man or to live my life a certain way protected my feminine side, the feminine me. Shout out to the chat. When I was born, I looked like my parents, but as I got older, I started looking like my decisions. And there's a lot of you women that have been blessed not to, experience that portion of life. It is a life that I cannot explain. But I can explain this. When I was in the penitentiary, and I think it was being done on purpose, they wouldn't put me in a room with someone too much that had a different type of a charge, you know what I mean? Most of my roommates were women that were in there for murder. There's no other way of saying it. I'm not going to try to clean it up. I don't care if it was domestic violence. I don't care if it was by accident. I don't care if it was a vehicular manslaughter. Murder is murder. And they kept putting me in rooms, roommating me, cellmating me with women that didn't have life in prison. There was like two of them that didn't have life. There was one that did. Shout out to the chat. And the two that didn't have life, they were in there for killing someone, but it was during a domestic violent situation. But the results were the same. They had a hard time sleeping, or they slept too much, or they loved to put on a happy face and dance for the audiences. But deep down inside, they were crying out because they couldn't get out of their heads that they had killed someone, that they had murdered someone, that they took the life of another human being. Shout out to the chat. And one informed me that it's very easy for that particular thing to happen again. She said, if you can do it one time, you can do it twice. You can do it 3 times. She said, after you kill someone, you don't feel good about it, but you realize you can do it again. And she was right. Because there was a young man that was in prison for murder. He got out on parole, and he turned around and killed 4 other people. Shout out to the chat. So yes, once you kill someone, once you unalive someone, it's very easy to do it again. Once you physically assault someone or anything like that, anything dealing with the violation of a human being, another human being, it's very easy for you to do it again. And this is what a lot of people don't discuss. Oh my God, you were driving through the snow. Oh, Lord have mercy. All facts. Hey. So yeah, Wrath, yeah. That's right. Everything has to be questioned. What's up, DJ Cleveland? What's up, EJ? EJ, shout out to you. EJ, I see you over there messing with Finichi. But you know what, EJ? Finichi been messing with a lot of people in the sector. He's got a problem with one specific person. Instead of saying he's going to go after that one person, he decides to go after everyone. Finichi is barking up the wrong tree. Shout out to the chat. Finichi, you need to go sit your ass down and stop bothering people. Everyone knows that Finichi has his own channel. I'm not going to promote that bullshit over here because he know he's a weirdo. He know he's wrong. He got a problem with Sis. Let's call an ace and a spade a spade. He's got a serious issue with Sis the rabbit, the king rabbit over there. Instead of him taking it up with Sis, he decides to go after everyone that ever sat around Sis for any amount of time, for any reason. And everyone in this whole sector has sat with Sis, even myself. Yeah. Shout out to the chat. Not worth it. What's up? Yeah, that's right. Not worth it. Not worth it. You said it right. Anyone is capable of murder. Watch the company that you keep. You right. Not worth it. I think that's what I was trying to say. Not worth it. I think that's what I was trying to say. But you know me, not worth it. I just get all in my vibe, and I have to, you know, swim in the water, so to speak, before I can get out the words. Before I can resurrect from the depths of the water. Shout out to Not Worth It saying that. Shout out to EJ. Shout out to Wrath. Shout out to Just Jay. Shout out to DJ Cleveland. Shout out to everyone that's in my chat right now. Shout out to you. So we got 5 in the building. We got 5 in the building. Now I'm not gonna be up here very long. Anyone want to hit the link? The link is dropped. Shout out to the chat. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. Shout out to the chat. Hit the like button. If you can, donate to the channel. Cause your homegirl Ray, you know. It always happens to me this time of a year. It just hit me worse this year. It hit me worse than usual this year. Shout out to the chat. But yeah, you got to ask questions. When people start talking a certain way, you got to ask questions. And sometimes your questions will make people angry. And I'm not talking about just religion or politics. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about everything. Oh, shout out to the chat. Yeah. Because when I was in prison, my inmate number was 221644. I understood why I had that number. Because there was other women in the prison that didn't have that number. Sometime I would meet a woman. Her number was what? 212864. It's the same thing as having the number I had. Sometime her number was what? 1346454. As long as it was 6 numbers, you had a number, and your number was your name. And they used whatever work you did as a way of them making money. Shout out to the chat. My last job that I had when I was in the penitentiary was working in a sewing plant. And I wanted to work in the sewing plant because that's where my girlfriend worked. I wanted to be close to my girlfriend, even though she worked in a different section. I worked in the shirt making section. She worked in the coat making section, where she sold release coats and jackets all day, and I did shirts all day. You know, I just did the the making of the shirt. We assembled, and then we would put the shirt together. Shout out to the chat. So yeah, that's a thing that they do when you go to the penitentiary. They make you work. They make you work a job. And if you don't work, you go to a place called the SHE program. Okay, depending on what you did or how you did it, you might be there for like 3 days. You might be there for 5 days. You might be there for 2 weeks. And then they let you out. They let you back on the compound. And if you was working in I'm gonna tell you about the institution I was in. I was at a place called Leith Correctional Institute. It's located in Greenwood, South Carolina. And if you was like a regular inmate, you wasn't doing long term on on SMU on the lockup unit because we lived on the Montague building. Shout out to the chat. We lived on the Montague building, and the Montague building was known as the Lifer building. That was the Lifer building. That was the building where they housed the women that had like 30 years in prison, 20 years in prison, or they was there for life. Shout out to the chat. But I'm going to tell you something about that building. That building was the most cleanest building out of all the buildings. It was the most cleanest. It was the most organized. The only thing I didn't, but when you're on the SHU program, you're living segregated. You're living separate from the rest of the general population. And you're down there for a certain time. But one thing I did realize, every time they removed you from being off a lockup, they still found ways to punish you. And if you worked in the kitchen, you no longer worked in the kitchen. You was on the yard crew. And the yard crew, they would make you walk around in a one big circle. Even if you didn't have anything to do, they would tell you, we need you to police the yard. We need y'all to walk in a fucking circle all around this place. Shout out to the chat. And you couldn't stop. They did this in the hot months, and they did it in the cold months. They really treated those women like shit over there. They were taking your DNA from you, charging you $500 to take something that you didn't necessarily have to give. They were doing it to the violent offenders, but as I had maxed out, they were making the non-violent offenders pay $500 for DNA. Shout out to the chat. There was even a doctor that they had, and what he loved to do. I don't care if you had a headache. I don't care if you had a chest pain. Anytime you went to medical for anything, if he was there, he would want to dig up inside your pussy. All the time. They finally got rid of him. They finally got rid of him because the women kept complaining about him for years and years and years. And nobody wanted to do anything about him. He had been doing that shit for years. Every time, I don't care if okay, let's say I'm sitting in this house, right? And I said, oh Lord, I gotta go to see the doctor. It might be for a headache. It might be for my heart condition. It might be for my asthma. It might be for anything. They want to dig up your ass all the fucking time. Shout out to the chat. I'm laughing, but it wasn't funny at the time. Because when you go to the penitentiary, you got to put up with a lot of bullshit. You got to put up with a lot of bullshit from not only the staff, from the correctional officers, and from each other. The only way you probably feel any kind of relief is if you are fucking someone. If you are fucking a bitch. You know what I mean? Word. And unfortunately, there was a lot of staff members and a lot of correctional officers that wanted to fuck wanted to fuck the inmate population. And believe it or not, ladies, there were some women who were correctional officers dating other female inmates. Yeah, there was a lot of that going on. But you know what? I never saw a problem with the women fucking with each other. I just felt it was fucked up when the men started doing it. Shout out to the chat, because I think the woman got a different type of touch. It's a different type. And some people on this app complain about the LGBTQ community, and they complain about the men being with the man, but I don't really hear too many people complaining about the women being with the women because it's more acceptable. When a woman is with another woman, it's more acceptable. Shout out to the chat. And I'm not gonna sit here and say, I just don't agree with it. I just can't see to I just my stance on it because I've been a part of the LGBTQ community for over 24 years. Over 20 years. 24, 25 years now. Shout out to the chat. Don't matter whether I date men or not. I'm still a part of the LGBTQ community. I don't see me wearing a dress anytime soon. I don't see me putting on makeup anytime soon. I don't see me going out there trying to buy me a wig or fashion a wig a certain way so I could wear it. I don't do those types of things. Wearing female clothing for me doesn't work for me. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. So it is what it is. So we out of here. I'm closing out the video. Y'all can hit the like button. Y'all can hit the Cash App. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for your view. Thank you for coming over. So we had a good crowd over here. And shout out to everyone that went live today. Shout out to everyone that went live today. Shout out to Just Jay for going live and doing a true reactionary video. Shout out to her. Yes, yes, yes. That's a reaction video. What she did today was a reaction video. And we appreciate her and we thank her. Shout out to the chat. All right, everyone. I'm out of here. Let me get some rest. Peace. One.